If you want to find Zanzibar the island, you just look to the east of Africa. If you want to find Zanzibar the player, well, you can just look near the top of the Cleric leaderboard, or in the boss room of your nearest high roller dungeon. Here in episode 9, we sit down for a campfire chat with James, aka Xanzibars. He is one of the most accomplished players in the game, who plays alongside, well, some of the most accomplished players in the game. He and his crew are constantly pushing the limits of what's both possible and attainable in the dungeon. They're responsible for some of the quickest boss kills on record, and both feared and revered in the Dark and Darker community. All right, so let's get the obvious out of the way here. The name Xanzibars. Give us the etymology. What is the origin of the name?
So I kind of came up with the name when I was like in high school. A bunch of my buddies were thinking that we were going to be funny, and we made our Xbox Live gamer tags drug references, and I didn't really want to list mine as just like, because some of them had very straightforward names that it was obvious. I wanted something that was there if you knew what it was, and then otherwise it kind of referenced the island. And then also the Halo 2 map.
Oh, right on. Halo 2 map. Okay. So what, dare I ask, what were some of the other obvious names? Was it more creative than just like Mary Jane and Powder My Nose, or was it a little bit more
one
subtle,
was Dark
less?
Lord Kedamame. Then there was somebody named Grandmaster Zan, which was pretty obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's a few of them. There were some pretty funny ones, but yeah.
Nice. So back when this happened, you said Xbox. Were you doing any PC gaming at that time? When did your PC gaming career come about?
So I started playing a PC, like playing World of Warcraft when I was in like second grade. Great way to learn about life and the internet. So played that for a long time, but mostly played Xbox with pretty much any other game other than World of Warcraft.
Okay, right on.
But I think I got into like serious like shooters and like these more group focused games on the PC with Tarkov, like I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay. When did you run into Kist and Orlanthe?
Well, Kist I've kind of known since college. We had a friend who knew a lot of different people who played video games and connected them all through a Discord server. And Kist and I have been playing like Tarkov for probably those same 3 or 4 years.
Right on.
Been doing that. Then Orlanthe, we ran into Orlanthe the first time playing Expedition Agartha. We were running around as a duo, just killing people. And he's running around as a solo and fighting another duo. And in that game, since it had such a small player base, there was a very big reliance on VoIP. So everyone's VoIPing, and so Orlanthe's yelling at these guys, "Stop like fighting me, I'm gonna kill you guys," and then asking us not to help him. And so he kills those two guys, and then he starts talking to us, and the other guy I was playing with goes, "Is that Orlanthe? We need a third. You should jump into our group." And that's how I met Orlanthe and started playing with him.
So was this pre Dark and Darker then?
I want to say it might have been like after playtest 1, but it was definitely like right at the beginning.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't think Expedition Agartha had been out for that long. I know it probably had a little bit of a jump in its player base in between Dark and Darker playtests, but yeah, I was fairly certain that was a new game. Have you kept up with that at all? I don't really know what the current state of EA is.
So I keep up with it a little bit. Kist is one of like the testers, so he does all the public test server testing stuff. And recently they've been talking about, and they've got it up on the public test servers now, but the skill trees. So they've got built out skill trees with a bunch of different abilities that you can earn and different play styles. So I think it's got some stuff going for it, but and when it launched, it had I think 800 players
Mm-hmm.
concurrent for like the first couple weeks, and then dropped down to what we've kind of seen. It goes down from like 20 to back to 100.
Oh, wow. It's that small. Jeez.
Yeah, so everybody when you're playing it, but I don't really play much anymore because of that player base.
Gotcha. Yeah. Bringing us full circle back to Star Siege, and speaking of player counts, I noticed that I think it was last weekend we were around 500, or maybe it was the week before, whenever the prior playtest to this weekend's was. It was sitting around 500. Did you get a chance to check and see what the player base was for this one?
So yeah, I think we were at like 500, then we went up to 700,
Okay.
and then I think we actually hit 1,000 in like 2 playtests ago.
Okay.
But then this one they're at about 700 again.
Yeah, that's
But I also think it's kind of that idea of why should I start grinding right now
yeah.
when
It's just
it
gonna be
comes out
wiped.
in 2 days.
Right. Yep.
So I think we've had enough playtests. People are ready to play it.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I think the monetization of that game is reasonable. I think the changes they made are probably good, although I didn't see the price tags that they attach, but just the method that they were going to use for monetizing that game. They listened to the player feedback and made some updates. I think that was a good move. I'm really curious to see what old Dark and Darker is going to do. I haven't heard anything other than the cost of early access being somewhere between 25 and 40 bucks. I think most people think it's going to be closer to 40, but what do you feel like their long-term strategy should be to keep that game financed?
I think I don't know how. I personally am kind of unsure of it. So I think that Dark and Darker, I love the game, but I think that they need to kind of think about the monetization and more of like the late game stuff that's going to be kind of happening,
Mm-hmm.
because I know this isn't exactly an answer to the question, but I think that the late game stuff and the monetization and playtests, the game was awesome and really drove a lot of people to play it during that period.
Right.
I think if it launches for a longer time, there's going to be there's going to be an issue of people who get way over geared by buying stuff, and then they're going to be running in full squads of full gear, killing people in lower tier lobbies, which they can definitely die with good gear. That happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that people are just going to get kind of newer players get scared by that type of stuff.
So in one way,
Seeking it.
you're pretty concerned about RMT then with Dark and Darker?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that I'm kind of concerned about. I think people are going to be buying and selling stuff on there all the time. But I also do think that that's unfortunately where video games are at right now. Is every single game out there, people start cheating on it right away. I mean, we had 2 play tests with Star Siege before they caught one guy cheating, which he was just found one bug in their code
Mm-hmm.
and abused it. He got banned very fast, but it's still, people nowadays in games, people just cheat. Not everybody, but like there's a small section of people who are cheating and RMTing, and I think Dark and Darker kind of, like Tarkov, breeds people wanting that
Right.
easy access to advancement.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. The more popular the game is, the more susceptible it's going to be. The bigger target it's going to have on its back for that kind of thing. Do you have any opinion about limiting the number of trades a player might be able to make in a certain amount of time to try to curb that? Because that, I mean, that is harder to track, in my opinion, than actual hacks within the game, right? Like just monitoring someone's trade, merchant activity. If they're selling 100 times in 2 hours, right? is that, do you want, or can you, I guess I ask for your opinion, do you see a scenario where monitoring to that extent on the trading channel is warranted?
So I wouldn't. Thinking about it further, like I agree. I'm not a huge fan of the trading. Personally,
Mm-hmm.
like yeah, it's great to go and get a piece of gear or two. Um, but even if it was a super efficient market, we had like a World of Warcraft auction house. You look
Mm-hmm.
up exactly what you want, you can buy it.
Right.
I still hate the fact that I can gear up and I mix and match my gear, doesn't matter. I'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
As long as I hit certain thresholds with knowledge and spell capacity. Um, doesn't matter what I'm wearing. But playing with like Orlanthe and Kist especially, all these games, and I always make fun of him for it, but he takes forever to gear up. And that's my biggest gripe with like these types of games is you just sit there forever waiting.
Right.
Especially when you're doing like a 24-hour stream, you're on like hour 20 and you're like, oh, I need to go buy a new set of armor, and you're sitting there for 10 minutes being like, I just want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that the other issue though is I love games that have like player driven economies, like
Mm-hmm.
World of Warcraft, Tarkov, this game, and I think that it's because it allows people to play the game in a different way. So Orlanthe and I will have people jump into our streams who are watching us the whole day because they're at work and they are able to have Dark and Darker open, but they can't play it.
Right.
So they'll just be trading the entire time. Um, and so they'll amass ridiculous amounts of gold, have like 6 characters maxed gold, and they just enjoy playing the game or that way. And I think that's definitely something people should be allowed to do.
Right.
Uh, just because it adds more depth to it. But I think I don't know enough about coding or anti-cheat to develop anything. I can give ideas, but I know Star Siege for their aimbot and script using. What they're doing is they're using an AI anti-cheat that they're I don't know if they're created or they're working with,
Hmm.
but basically it's tracking player movements and how you aim, and seeing if it's natural,
Nice. I wonder
rather
if
than
it's
looking.
AnyBrain. Have you
Oh,
heard of the Waldo project or AnyBrain?
I haven't.
Okay.
But yeah, no. So instead of trying to catch them by detecting what cheats they're using, they're trying to catch them by is their player activity look normal?
Right. Right.
Um,
It's
and
the
they're
same
taking then, yeah. So
exact
I think they could
concept.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they could do something like that. I mean, I work with AI for my job pretty frequently, but I'm just using like Chat GPT
Mm-hmm.
or Jasper AI, or using different programs that do like voice and video. But I don't know anything about that. So like I don't know anything about the technical side, so I can't say how reasonable it would be, but I could see something like that being the best way to solve it because you had issues where with like Tarkov where they've gone so anti RMT with their approach,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of actually trying to fix the problem, they just are like, oh, people are buying stuff on the flea market doing this. We're going to come up with a new ban that we want to put in of you can't, and no player can do this. Like with their keys, they had a key system, and it used to be if you were there as a quest, I would use my key and I could trade it with my friend so he could use it after I'm done with it. They've now made it so you can't drop any keys to any other player because
Dang.
of RMT changes.
Wow.
And now it's like you can't bring in any type of item into a raid to drop to a friend other than weapons or gear. So I don't want that type of approach where
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
putting
That's
up barriers but not actually solving the problem.
right. Yeah. That's pretty draconian. It's definitely a balancing act there, and I was trying to think through what are some possible solutions. So any brain or any AI based anti cheat that's actually looking at and monitoring player behavior and creating basically a digital fingerprint for you as a gamer, and it doesn't care about what your username is, what your MAC address, your IP address is. Like, I love that approach. I think that's the future of saving multiplayer games, honestly. Like, that is where it's at. But when it comes to trading and limiting the amount of trades, yeah, I'm with you. I don't want them to overcorrect for that. And I do think people should be able to play the game however they want. And if that includes them just being a merchant and they're trying to trade their way to more gold, then so be it. But maybe there's some compromise there where the people that want to do that do some extra task or some additional layer of verification where, you know, they're basically signing kind of a waiver saying, hey, I agree to these terms where I am not engaging in any RMT. And if I'm found to be engaging in RMT, I understand all my accounts and access will be banned. That, you know, that's probably not an end all be all solution, but maybe that gets us closer.
That's the issue, I think, is with any type of anti-cheats. Hopefully there's some way to make it where it doesn't, but there's always going to be false positives.
Right.
And those are the types of people who will get caught, are people who've been stockpiling all this gold and doing only trading because it is abnormal behavior. So if there's an AI searching for abnormal behavior, it does look like it. So yeah, I think it might not help with RMT more so than actually just cheating and players cheating.
Yeah.
Which I'm personally, I don't really care too much if there's that much RMT in games, as long as there's not cheating.
Yeah. I would rather have the RMT than cheating any day of the week, 100%. But I'm still going back to your original comment. Like, I don't like the idea either of someone coming in and then just buying their way into a new full set of gear anytime they want. Does it ruin the game entirely? No, not at all. But if we can at least limit that or slow that down in some way, I think that's good. And I feel like that would be kind of easy to catch those patterns, right? Where if you've got, you know, if I'm giving you $10 out of game in USD and we meet up in the utility channel and you give me 5 pieces of purple gear and I hand you a silver, then you can look for that disparity, right? Because you're not, usually the buyer is not contributing a lot to that part of the bargain, right? So I feel like that pattern should be fairly easy to detect. But yeah. So Connor in the chat, sorry Connor, it took a while to get to you. He asked win game, need game, and then he mentioned that skill-based matchmaking in Dark and Darker is one of the best features, and he means the lack of it, right? No SBMM. You agree with that? The no SBMM, one of the best features?
I think that they're having no skill-based matchmaking is great as long as they continue to go on this route with the high roller maps. So I think that there should be even a tier higher than high rollers. Maybe bring down the loot in all the other tiers, but it should basically make it so what I was talking about earlier, where somebody just gets bored of, they're not at that super high level skill of they're competing with everybody out there and can take any fights. So they get beat up a little bit in the higher rollers and they've got like a 50% survival rates. And so they kind of feel bad. They're like, this is really rough. I kind of want to feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens in every one of these types of games. And so they go fully geared and then they drop down to the low tiers and they're like, okay, I'm still making money and they're killing everybody that they can and they're bringing with their buddies. So they're all doing it. And I think that we need a way to make that not happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if the loot was really, really bad in the first tier, which will it disincentivize people more so to go there? It's going to be more of just like go around, learn the combat with AI, loot up. You've got a small map. So kind of like the Goblin Caves, except even just make it small with groups.
Mm-hmm.
Go through the map, clear it out. You see some people, you might get into a little bit of a scuffle, but there's going to be enough portals for everybody.
Right.
Everybody can get out, and so people learn the game and start interacting with the mechanics normally,
Yep.
rather than just, oh my god, this guy is flying around the corner,
Right.
I'm hitting him and he has 85% damage reduction on,
Yep.
so I can't do anything with my starter gear.
Right.
And I think if we make it kind of, there be multiple levels that you can go into, that would help. But then again, having played a lot of these games, like Cycle kind of fragmented their player base way too much
Right.
by having 3 maps, solos and trios and duos. So now you've got 9 different servers, and then they had skill-based matchmaking, which
Right.
was adding even more onto that.
Yep.
That you can't fragment players that much, that I'm not sure exactly how the best way to do it would be.
Right.
But
yeah, it's a tough nut to crack, but I think you hit at the main theme that I think they should be going for, which is how do you retain new players? How do you prevent people coming into the game from getting curb stomped and frustrated and just, alt F4ing and uninstalling? Like how do you
you're seeing it with like Star Siege, which we've talked about.
Yep.
Right. I mean, if you pulled up general chat right now and you scroll up, there's about 6 or 7 people who are saying this game is only for streamers, and the streamers are killing the game, because that's what's happening, is people are getting to the certain level right now, and the skill-based matchmaking isn't in, and so they're just putting anyone who's above level 25 with anybody else. But
Right.
as I just started today, and level 17 still playing with them, and it's like, I definitely have a disadvantage. Everyone has better armor than me right now, but it's just how that game is designed without skill-based matchmaking really hurts it.
Yep. Yeah, Kiss said in the chat that opt-in alternatives seem better for Dark and Darker, and I agree. I think the opt-in route is the way to go. I think for, considering we're not even at early access, what they've already figured out just by virtue of having the normal Forgotten Castle and obviously the ruins, and then having High Roller as the separate areas that you can choose, and Goblin Caves. I mean, they've already spread it out, right? I don't think that they'll keep it that spread out. I think they will keep High Roller, but then I can't see both Ruins and Forgotten Castle being kept separate. The original intent when the last playtest release was that that was the first floor. People got frustrated with that, so they separated it out. I think they had some bugs too, potentially. I know that a lot of people, myself included, were kind of frustrated with the way that you got down to the crypts. That was a wreck. Like finding the stairs and having to wait until like the stairs opened at what, like 2 minutes left in the raid, or 90 seconds left in the raid. Like that was insane.
Yeah, you should have heard the first, we all woke up right when it launched and whatnot, and we're playing, and we're trying to get down, because our kind of goal when we start playing is get down immediately, kill the Lich, get out, kill as much AI as possible so we can get to level 20 so we can go to High Rollers, because we're pushing leaderboards. So
right.
We're sitting there and everyone's like, there's gonna be down portals spawning, and Kist and I sometimes start yelling at each other in a friendly manner, and I'm like, I promise you it is those stairs, and that gate's gonna open at some point. And he's like, dude, the storm's coming, we're gonna die. And I ended up standing there just literally waiting. I'm like, you guys go, I'm done. I'm done, we're taking this, because it was like our 3rd time trying to find it. And he's like, someone just keeps taking our portals. It might have been Orlanthe also arguing with it, but I'm like, I'm standing here. And we ended up figuring it out. But I think what they should do is have something similar where you have to wait some time to go down on that map, but have a lot more options. Maybe even have it be down portals, but have outs that are constantly open, kind of like the Goblin Caves.
Right.
Has that like little crack that you can climb through.
Yep.
Where that opens up. But I think they should be constantly open, because if we do want to not split the player base and have kind of what I was talking about earlier, if you allow players to get out whenever they want, when they've picked up a little bit of loot, new players will learn, like, okay, I'm going to avoid taking fights that I can't take, which is one of the key things of learning in this game, is there's times when you're outmatched or you're in a bad position and you just have to take a step back and be like, okay, we got to go.
Right.
We can't
Yeah.
keep taking this fight right now.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah, I like the idea of having that hybrid system where you have some static extracts, but they're limited and difficult to guarantee that you're going to be able to use them because everybody else knows where they are and they're going to be hotspots, right? Like there's going to be a lot of activity around there, and prolonging the raid to the point where you're forced to at least avoid, like you have to do some kind of avoidance. You're not going to be able to just loot and immediately get out, right? You either have to fight, you have to evade is the word I was looking for. You either need to be good at evading or you need to be good at fighting in order to get to the point where you can make it out on that extract, or you gotta hope for a little bit of luck with a blue portal to get out. I think that's a good balance. But yeah, when they first just did the ruins with only were there 3 or 4 of the staircases to start? Do you remember?
I think there was 3, but only one was guaranteed to be close to the circle.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even close.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Some of them could be so far away that like there's no chance you're getting there.
There was times when I would find one and I'd be like, I'm gonna stay here, like we're going down, and they'd be like, no, we're gonna keep looking. We're gonna go find the one that's closer into the circle, and I would just put down a campfire and sit at it and be like, this is what I'm doing. I'm sitting in this storm and I'm healing myself at this spot. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you one bit. So hopefully they have a solution for that because, yeah, I think they do need the ruins as being the first floor, then the crypts, then Inferno. And yeah, I'm pretty psyched about some of the changes they're demoing for us in these YouTube videos that they're putting out. Just the lighting, the little things, torches, of course the torches, Nexon's torches, that they're upgrading to red coloring, and the overall lighting just looks better. And then they're adding the new monsters. Like everything about Inferno just looks incredible to me every time they do a new video. So I'd be curious to know what portion of the player base has never even been there at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely scary to be going down into like the hell or the Inferno, whatever it's called down there. But I think that we actually used to just cheese everything down there.
Yeah.
So you used to just climb up on something, have Orlanthe pull out his crossbow, and have the other guy who's ranged attack, and I used the spells that do damage and attack. However, have you seen or heard of Mobile Meow Machine?
No.
She's one of the top ranked fighters in a couple play tests.
Hmm.
I think it was playtest 3 where they extended it and then they did like a mini season.
Yeah.
She got #1 treasurer for that.
Dang.
Overall.
Okay.
But she basically taught Orlanthe and I and Kist kind of, I think she was probably the first one to figure it out, but how to fight those centaurs and how to fight all the mobs in hell without taking any damage. So she'll be like, oh, I'll go do it and grab all of the mobs, kill them without taking damage. And it was like, okay, learned how to do it a little bit. I'm not the best at it, but
right.
I'm still all for the cheese strategies.
I admit that I did definitely try to take advantage as many cheese techniques as I could when I was down there, because I always felt outmatched. I very rarely was running with anything better than blue gear, and I was usually either going solo. Occasionally I'd have a trio that would make it down there, but I feel like more often than not when I was down in Inferno, I was down there with just me and one other person. And I usually ran Cleric too, and we'll talk more about the Cleric class later because that was my main. But yeah, when you're down there, it's just like, one wrong move and you can be dead fast. You aggro too many mobs, you're dead. With a Cleric, obviously, you can't open a door very quick, so it's not like you have a lot of evasion capability if you do something wrong. But yeah, I was constantly looking for height or looking for a way that you could just kind of block and get on the staircase or something, where I've seen Orlanthi do this with the skeletal champion. You know, if you can block him on a staircase, he'll just swing right over your head, right? So those kind of moves, I think those are okay. But at some point, you know, as much as I appreciate being able to do that, I think if I know SDF, he's not going to be satisfied with that level of AI. I think he's going to make it smarter to where at least some of it's going to be harder to cheese.
Yeah, so one cool part about that, having talked with Orlanthi, who has talks with them kind of at certain times, especially when the playtests are going. And basically there was a bug. I don't know if you guys used it at all, but you were able to kill the Ghost King by doing this weird strafe mechanism that would stick the Ghost King in position and he would stop attacking and he
Really?
couldn't move.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was about a day or 2 days on one of the play tests. So you could just go and it would be you couldn't take any damage. If you did it, you wouldn't take any damage and it would happen within the first like 3 seconds. Um, and they have this rule that basically if you kill the boss 5 times, they check the data on your boss kills. Like if you because we were killing him in the first day, like easily with no issues, no deaths, super fast time, and so they were asking us about like how it was being done, and then it got fixed like the next day.
Dang.
So when it comes to real cheesing strategies and like bugs like that, they're fixing them very fast.
Nice. Yeah, their dev team is something special, man. They are really, really good. I've told this story a couple times, but that playtest you're talking about, or that you were talking about, PT3, I got banned and about lost my mind. It was right before Christmas Day. I think it was Christmas Eve. I went to log in, and I had taken, you know, all this time off work, and I had been playing nonstop, and I was geeked. My son and I were logging on. We were about to play, and I fired up Mumble, which is our local area network chat tool, because Discord has too much lag when we're just sitting like right next to each other. So I fire up Mumble, fire up the game, and it's like, you have been permanently banned. And I went and checked the Discord, and it's like, yeah, if you've been banned, it applies to all playtests, not just this one, but basically you're perma banned. And reached out to SDF, and he checked the logs and fixed it within 5 minutes. He's like, oh yeah, I see what it is. You got incorrectly flagged for using Mumble and Murmur. You're running the Murmur server on your computer, and it got flagged as a cheat. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely not. And he's like, oh, I know. And reinstated me immediately. It was awesome. Like, those guys are just so good and so responsive. I have nothing but glowing things to say about that crew for sure. That's awesome that they're taking feedback from you guys and Orlanthi and implementing it that quickly as well. That's just great to hear.
Yeah, it's definitely a relief coming from having my main game be Tarkov for a while and having it be like they just don't care
Yeah.
about at all.
What's the dude's
about
name?
what
Is
you
it
think.
Nikita? What's the main guy's name over there? Is
Yeah,
it Nikita?
his
You mean
Nikita
you guys don't have like a hotline, like a speed dial to Nikita over there? He's not taking your calls?
He's gone multiple times on an interview and said, I don't care if my players have fun or what they want. I'm making my own game. Like there's multiple times of him saying like, I'm just making this game what I want to make the game. If you want to play it, you can play it. If you don't, like, I don't care. So yeah, it's a kind of the opposite approach of this dev team.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right then. Maybe there's a completely different mentality over there in Russia.
Yeah.
Straight middle finger on his forehead. My goodness. That's something. Well, hey, I took his, I kind of fast forwarded our conversation a little bit here, but I do want to circle back into the playtest history accolades and make sure those don't get overlooked. So you mentioned to me earlier in our pre-show chat, you didn't really get to play playtest 1 very much. You started at the end of 2, is that right?
So I played playtest 1 for like 20 minutes because it was like the last day, and I played solo on like 3 different classes, got rolled, and then because Kist wasn't around, I was just like, I want to try this out. Everyone's raving about it, And so I played it, and then playtest 2. I travel a lot for work, so sometimes can't get time off. That's how it goes. And
Yeah.
so I was traveling, came back, had like a weekend, grinded the entire weekend. I think I did one 24-hour segment and then like another 20-hour segment. Um, but that was like playing playtest 2. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of started playing cleric because I wanted to. I with these games, they're always more fun with groups.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that before jumping on here. Of
Right.
like, I'll always play with randoms. I love playing with randoms. I love helping people. Love getting people going. And I know that I knew looking at the class selection as the only healer, they're going to be necessary in almost every good group.
Oh yeah,
That finding a group's really easy.
for sure.
Um, and then it turned out finding a good cleric is really hard.
Yeah.
So Orlanthe was playing, Kist was playing. Orlanthe's like, I'm going for another first rank. Do you want to play with me? And I was like, sure. I don't really care about the ranking, but like playtest 3, let's get me in the top 10 of something. Just because I don't know if yeah, I think you're in it, but the elite Discord that they have.
I am not. I
Um,
never ascended the ranks high enough to
okay.
make the elite. No.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't actually even look at it. I just get trolled by Azadim, who's another cleric. He just ats me because it was like it was actually a couple days ago. He ats me and it's like, "Everybody, wake up, get ready. The darkness is almost here." And so he was just actually just sitting in chat, just wanting to talk to people. So I'm like, I was whatever I was doing. I'm like working from home, but I'm jump on their call. I'm like, "Oh, is it coming out?" And he goes, "No, but I got you, didn't I?"
Oh,
I was like,
jeez.
"Okay, come on."
You only get to do
But
that once, man. It's like the boy that cried wolf. You cannot. You only get that card one time. He must have been
yeah,
really jonesing. Who does Azadim play with? Does he play with Depress or is he
he plays
Nevix?
with. I think he plays with Nevix. I think he mainly plays with
I've
Nevix.
seen a couple of their vids. They're freaking good. Those guys are good.
Yeah, he changes it up a lot of times as a team though. He plays with a couple groups. He's from somewhere in Europe, I think Romania.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Actually. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely stands out in the voice channels when he chimes in for sure.
Yeah. He's also a very funny guy.
Yes,
But
he
yeah,
is.
so back to why I playtest 3. He plays with Narek.
Narek, not Nevix. Narek,
Yeah,
yes.
not Nevix.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for playtest 3, I was like, okay, I want to get into this Discord because they were saying, oh, you have to. So I really pushed for it. I took off some time from work, grinded, healed. It was healing the whole time. Love it. It's the first time I've actually really gotten into a healing class and enjoyed it. But I had a lot of fun in playtest 3. Playtest 4.
Wait, don't go there yet.
Oh,
So MPT3, you ended up number 4 escape artist, number 2 treasure collector. This is all for cleric. So I guess I should go down class specific first. You were number 4 escape, number 2 treasure, number 4 veteran, and respectively 18 overall, 7 overall, and 47 overall. That's no joke as a cleric. That's pretty freaking awesome. That was a grind for sure.
yeah, so it was definitely a grind, and it was one of the first times of like actually playing that much of like a game in one go. Um, but it was really cool having because the community with Dark and Darker, as I'm sure you know, everybody's very friendly
Mm-hmm.
and just wants to help each other or talk. And that's kind of why I stream on Twitch. I don't do it because I want to make money. I don't do it because I want to be famous or anything. I literally just do it because I enjoy talking with people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's mainly why I focus on streaming Dark and Darker. And yeah, it was a blast and really made me want to continue kind of doing the streaming stuff and playing Dark and Darker. But
Right on. So, did you really stream much prior to that? Any Expedition Agartha or any other game?
so I streamed Expedition Agartha. Been, as I said, I've been friends with Kist for a while. He makes YouTube videos,
Mm-hmm.
great content. Uh, we like to play all these new games and play test games, and race kind of everybody to unlock all the content so that we can then make videos of it.
Yep.
So I started out by just recording 6-hour play sessions, and I'm sure you know your hard drives fill up really
Yeah,
fast
yeah.
doing that.
Yep, sure does.
So I looked into it. Getting affiliate on Twitch is not too bad if you're good at one of these games, because Expedition and Agartha, very low streamers. People are looking at it, trying to see who plays it.
Right.
Warlander, very similar. Cycle, when it first came out, and the betas, very similar, especially because it's got your name when you kill somebody. So getting to that affiliates stage wasn't very hard. And once you get there, you get 2 weeks of VODs stored. So my streaming mainly started out as a way to save VODs
Mm-hmm.
and then kind of clip good clips, share them with Kist. He can make the videos with them. No, that's how I started doing it. Went into kind of playing Tarkov, because that's what I was mainly playing, streaming that, and that's really not fun. That community, as their creator, is kind of just as toxic. So you'll be like, and I'm not, I find it hilarious a lot of the times, but sometimes you just want a game. But you just get people who jump in after you kill them, and if you've got your camera on, which most of the time I don't stream with my camera on anymore, but I started out doing it, you just get people who come in there and just talk so much trash, and it's like, dude, what's going on? Like, why are you so mad about life? And you just never had great interactions with people. So I kind of stopped streaming Tarkov. I stream some other games. Sometimes I plan on streaming Star Siege, but during summer my work goes crazy and don't really get the time. And I want to be able to do like, I like streaming for long periods of time. I like doing like 24-hour streams
Oh, damn.
because um you get a lot more interactions. So that's kind of just how it works. Is the longer your stream is up, the more people end up showing up because they think it's good dedication and it shows like you're doing it, and they like to stay around.
Yeah.
But it builds a better community, and then some of my the best people who watch it, and like I've played with them. I've run matches with a bunch of viewers because I try to do that very frequently during these play tests. Is do like viewer runs of just play with a couple random guys. We'll run 3 clerics and have a fun time. But I've got a bunch of them are from different parts of the world, have different schedules. So you kind of interact with everybody. So I've got like
Right.
people in Germany who would jump in every day while they're at work and talking to me, and that's really cool to me. I just like to interact with that whole different community.
Yep. Yep. I'm with you 100%. I agree. The Dark and Darker community is, for the most part, very friendly and passionate. When the game is out, they're friendly. When the game is not out, they get split down the middle, and half of them turn into ravenous wolves. There's some interesting conversations there in the general chat in the Discord. That's for sure.
That I don't know that it's still to this day you look at it and it's constant scrolling that you can't even read the messages most of the time.
Yeah.
It's wild how many people are in there.
It's starting to pick back up, man. Like there was definitely a lull back in, I'd say mid to late June even, where it slowed. Like they didn't have to have, I don't even think they had slow mode enabled, let alone like, the 30-minute or 30-second, 1 minute, 2 minute delay on posting a message. Like it was just barren in comparison to all the other times I've seen it. But dropping that Warlock video definitely spiced things back up in there. And I think a lot of people are tuning in, like Derp Wiggly's, man, his channel's just gone nuts. Between him and One Peg, I feel like the community that cares is pretty well informed on what's going on with the lawsuit now. And people are putting those dates, July 19th, July 26th on their calendars. And yeah, we're not far away. It's 3 days till the 19th. 26 is 10 days away, and it is I don't know. I don't want to overshoot it because I'm a homer, but let's say a 51% chance that this case gets dismissed in the U.S. Iron Mesa's response was just scathing. It was so good about why that the forum non-convenience clause should be enacted, or whatever that motion is. But yeah, I feel like it's coming. I feel like we're building towards EA, hopefully this month. But I heard Jay say, I think Soma may have said the same thing, like, get your head set on August. That way when it doesn't come in July, you're not disappointed. But if it's not out by the end of August, I think you're going to see a very different tone and attitude in that Discord.
I agree. But I think that people will still be around.
Yeah,
because
I
I think
agree.
I think it's really good actually, for the team, because they definitely have the infrastructure now. They've created such this big hype
Yeah.
that now they get to really work on exactly what you're saying. That thing with like the advanced hell. Sorry, my cat's trying to jump up. But they've made it hell look a lot prettier. They've
Mm-hmm.
made a lot of this like improvements in. They're adding new AI. I know that they're gonna have the new boss probably.
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff is kind of coming from them having the time to work on it,
Right.
which I think that we're going to see a very large increase in the amount of content slash just changes that we see, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is definitely the longest gap since PT, since the private playtest, really. The longest stretch of time that the devs have been able to work, let's say, uninterrupted. Like, they haven't had to be bothered with monitoring a playtest, right? And doing hot fixes for, bugs that or cheats or anything like that. Like, they've been able to run, I don't even know how many sprints, if they're on 2-week sprints. I haven't done the math, but a lot. They've been able to do a lot, which is really, really cool. So, hey, I got you off track. That was my fault. So we were at your PT3 accolades. PT4, you ended up number 26, Cleric, with Escape Artist, slacking a little bit there. But number 9 on Treasure Collector, which is pretty respectable. But then PT5, you went bananas. So you ended up number 8, Escape Artist, number 9, Killer Outlaw, number 9, Killer Outlaw on Cleric, Lich Slayer number 6, Treasure Collector number 2, number 13 overall for Treasure Collector, which isn't surprising. I'm sure Orlanthe was, I can't remember his stats. He was probably 1 or 2, I'm guessing, overall.
He's 1.
1.
Yeah.
And the Kist was probably not too far behind, I'm guessing. And then you had Veteran Adventurer number 8. But yeah, I heard Orlanthe and Kist were just on Soma's Darkest Hour podcast not too long ago, and they were talking about how Orlanthe's favorite award to capture, it's, if I'm remembering correctly, he actually said that, well, he said Treasure was number 1, but like Veteran Adventure was not far behind for him. Like, he really wanted to get those 2. He didn't really care about anything else. Those 2 were what he was after.
Yeah, so he's very much about trying to get as high a Veteran Adventurer, because Treasure Collector kind of gets skewed. Kiss normally actually doesn't end up very high in Treasure Collector. We normally, everything that's kind of above like purple, valuable wise, we trade to Orlanthe, and he trades us raw gold for it. Because how the treasure collecting calculation works is really poor. So a piece of gear is worth 0. A bag of gold is worth 0, even if that bag of gold is full. So you bring in a bag, you fill it up with 50 gold. In a high roller, you have, it's a lot. You'll have like 4 bags filled with gold. So that should be 200 towards your treasure collector.
Do you know if
However,
that's by design, or is that just something they haven't fixed?
Yeah, well, they're not classified as treasure. The other things are classified as treasure. So I think it is something that they're by design.
Wow.
So if like something really good drops that none of us need and it's going to be sold, I'll drop Orlanthe a bunch of my valuables and take the item, and so he gets a higher score.
Gotcha.
And so it definitely kind of gets skewed, and people aren't very appreciative. I mean, most people understand. I mean, it makes sense. We're trying to get one person to at the top of the leaderboards, and that's the goal of the whole group. But other people get upset of being like, oh, doesn't make sense. Like, how is this fair then? Because you're kind of just funneling it to people. But as that kind of shows, me getting number 2 and number 13 overall, we're not really funneling it too much to people.
Right.
But yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty impressive list overall. So one of the questions I typically ask is, how did your playtest go? I think those stats speak for themselves there. It went pretty well. Yeah, it did all right.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. I like, as I said, staying up late, sleep for like 6 hours, and you're just in that mindset of like, wake up, shower, okay, it's time, and sit down, you're ready to go again.
See, you're more evolved than most, and I think I skipped a shower at least, I think every other day. So I've taken the last 3 playtests off work, and yeah, man, I was just the whole week. It was not like wake up, dark and darker, eat, dark and darker, eat, say hi to the family, dark and darker, bed, and then the next day it was dark and darker, eat. Okay, I should take a quick shower before I go back down. I'm starting to gross myself out. More dark and darker, and then just rinse and repeat that cycle. And when I came out of that week, dude, I felt like I'd been tripping. Like it was weird as hell. Like that amount of grinding. And I wasn't nearly on the level that you guys are, so I can't even imagine. But just like 12, 14-hour days for 6, 7 consecutive days, I felt like I was living on a different planet. It's like, I really need to go literally touch grass. I need to go outside. Like, I need to go do something.
So that's my big thing of like, even like the last playtest for playtest 5, my longest stream was like 26 hours then. And I finished it, and it's like 3 in the afternoon. So it's so weird at like that time. And for my work, I'm normally up at 6 in the morning working early, and so I really am big about my sleep schedule.
Yeah.
So I actually did the 26-hour stream. Then I went to the grocery store with my roommates, bought like groceries, cooked dinner, watched TV for like an hour, and
Made
then
yourself
went to
stay
bed.
up till what? How late you make it? Like 7, 8 o'clock?
It was like, it wasn't even like about trying to stay up as late. It was more of also just, I get stuck in that mindset of like, you're there for 24 hours.
Right.
You've got the same people yelling and talking to you. And I just need my brain to like cool down before I go to bed, you know?
Right.
I can't just be in that, okay, like fight or flight mode.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you. Well, let's talk Cleric, man. This time is flying by. I can't believe we're at the 55-minute mark. I want to talk Cleric a little bit about the future of the game and take some questions from the chat. We got a handful of people still hanging out. Appreciate you guys that are here. Cleric, what do you feel like is good and bad about Cleric right now?
So I think Cleric's actually one of the most versatile classes, and that you can kind of do whatever with it. I'm not like, in playtest 5, it said, as we were saying, I got ranked number 9 for Killer Outlaw. That was mainly due to a bug with Locust Swarm, which was every 0.1 seconds it was ticking for magic damage.
Did you ever kill yourself with it?
Oh, I used to suicide bomb people. That's how I ended up.
I killed myself 3 times with it. I thought the spell was completely broken. I was just scanning through, and people were saying Locust Swarm is broken, and that's all I read. And I just assumed that it meant it was just killing the caster all the time, because that's all that happened to me. I didn't realize that it had the circle on the floor, right, for targeting. So I was like looking down and putting the circle underneath my feet, and killing it, like, but I didn't see it. I didn't actually see the circle. So I killed myself, I think, the first 3 times I cast it, and then I didn't touch it again for like a day. And I got to use it and actually kill a couple people like right before they patched it. But yeah,
so I didn't stick with it at the beginning until I died twice, and I know there's a clip, someone clipped it of me, but I just am like, dude, this guy is fucking cheating. I'm like, there is no way this guy's not cheating. And then they sent me the clip of it, because the next time I died, it wasn't to him. I died to somebody else doing the exact same thing. And I think it was Nevix. And I jumped. I'm like, you have to send me a clip of that. And so he sends me a clip, and I'm like, are you using Locust Orb? He's like, yeah, it one shots you if you've got full magic damage.
Yep.
And so, yeah, we just ran around doing it for like an entire day and abusing it. So there's all these cool, or now that's not that cool, but there's all these like different play styles to play.
Yep.
So I was never very good at the Brewmaster, which is where you drink the ale.
Yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
you
I played
fight.
Brewmaster style. It's fun.
Yeah, Brewmaster's awesome. Running around with Judgment. I played Judgment. When I play solo, I play Brewmaster Judgment builds
Okay.
pretty much exclusively.
I tried that
But
and Smite. I didn't mind the Smite build. I think Judgment's better for, especially if you're fighting barbarians. But
Smite used to be a lot better.
it did.
Yeah, and then they got nerfed pretty heavily, so I stick away from that in playtest 5. But back to the goods of it, it's kind of so versatile. You can play as this Brewmaster up front tank, kind of beating up people with your mace, your staff, whatever you prefer. And then you can also play the full-on support role, like Apollo Souls. He's another player who plays with Orlanthi a bunch. He streams.
Yep.
He's very good at Cleric, but he plays only as a healer. So he won't go into combat to try and fight anybody.
Mhm.
He'll just stand there and make sure everyone's alive. While then Kist, when he was playing Cleric, when we were running double Cleric last play test with Orlanthi, he would run either a War Maul or just a really juiced up mace, and he's the front line, I'm the back line. We're all keeping each other alive, playing in just very different play styles with clerics, and that's the benefit of it. The bad side is they are kind of required for every group if you want to be doing end game stuff.
Yep.
We found out the meta comp actually is 2 clerics.
Yeah.
You do 2 clerics and a fighter.
Yeah, that's
if
it.
you change that fighter to even a wizard or a barbarian and kill everything.
Yep, I agree. Hopefully, with some buffs to the bard, they become a viable option for some of the lower level, the Inferno bosses. Hopefully, you could get away with having a bard in the group, because yeah, I do think that is a limitation. I mean, it's good for us as cleric players that every group needs one, but you know, is it good for the game? Probably not. You'd like to have a way that groups could boss without a cleric, ideally.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think that, I mean, they've talked about adding a druid class too.
Yes, they did.
I think that'll come with it. From my knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons, which isn't very big, and it seems that a lot of this comes from their abilities and whatnot. I believe the warlock is actually can be spec'd into healing classes in Dungeons and Dragons, so you can like, it's not like a cleric heal, but they have abilities where they are able to like sacrifice their life to, or like part of their life to give to another person.
Yeah.
While at the same time they can regenerate their life really quickly through which they've already confirmed is one of the spells. Is basically you use your perk or passive that heals you whenever you do curse damage. So you sit there, you cast your 3 curses on the opponents, then your tank is now getting a beating. You drop your health halfway, you full heal him, you're almost back to full because you drank a potion and you've got these ticks all going off on people. And it's kind of a different play style of heal.
Yeah, assuming that potions work. That's one of the big question marks right now, right? Like if you take Torture Mastery, does it nullify the impacts of traditional healing? Like I don't know if that's one of the trade-offs or if that was just a bug in that video.
Yeah, I didn't watch the video too much in depth. I just kind of I watched it a bit, but yeah, if it is that, it's just, I think it's gonna be an interesting play, and I think if they make it so that they can heal, I think there could be a really viable option for it, and kind of having it being like a buffing / healing class doing everything.
Yeah, it would be really, really cool. So what tips would you have for an aspiring, fresh off the boat new cleric?
I would
Who's
say kind of as a cleric, your role is to run your group. Um, so you're kind of the one who has to be reasonable in the group and not just be like, we're going to be pushing crazily.
Mhm.
Um, you have to be really communicative with what you're doing and what you have remaining. So
Right.
if you're running low on spells, you have to tell your team the amount of times you get into combat and oh, I only have 2 lesser heals, 2 holy lights, your teammates screaming at you, "Oh, heal me," and you're like, "Okay, well, we are almost out. We're gonna die unless we can kill one of them now or disengage."
Right.
Um, and you have to be able to. You never want to be in that situation. You want to tell your teammate before,
Yep.
we should probably stop. Let's take a little bit of a break here.
Yep.
And we have to do that a lot because you'll have Orlanthe 3 rooms away being like, I hear someone get over to me now. And you're like, oh, dude, what are you doing? I'm at a campfire. And so that's one of the biggest things is to just communicate with your team and tell them if you guys want to go over there, you're welcome to, but you're not going to have heals and you're going to die.
Yeah.
You can control them that way because the whole reason they have you there, unless and because you guys are normally friends, is because you keep them alive when they're doing dumb stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they'll respect it. But then the other thing I would say is in line with that, obviously bring campfires, use meditates,
Mhm.
um, or it's not, is it
Well,
meditate? It's
it's just
rest.
rest, yeah.
Rest,
Yeah.
yeah. Use that and then kind of choose how you want to play, decide on it, and really stick to that. So a lot of times with newer clerics, and I'll play with a lot of them when we're doing like viewer runs and whatnots, is they don't play in one specific role. So like what I was talking about before
Mhm.
of you have the people who are aggressively attacking with even Locust Storm still decent, Earthquake's still decent. They're attacking with those abilities, controlling kind of the battlefield with some spells. They're
Mhm.
casting judgment. Then you have the cleric who's the brewmaster, more of going in with a big weapon, trying to take out them, being the tank.
Mhm.
So they've got high damage reduction gear, high strength. That's what their goal is. And then the other role is that support healing role. Yeah, they might change it up and use judgment instead of using holy purification, which is one of my favorites. Um, but if you do if the new players, they'll try to do too much. So they'll be like, oh, I'm going to be running in and casting a locust swarm, but then I'm going to switch up and I'm going to immediately be bonking them in the head with my mace. And once you get into that, you really mess up a lot of the gameplay for yourself because you're not specializing in anything and it becomes just more stuff that you have to remember to do and handle, and it just doesn't work out.
Right. Well,
every
plus you
every
probably don't
top
have the
cleric
gear for
doesn't.
it either. Like you rarely have the gear to
Yeah,
be able to do both of those things effectively. No, I'm with you. I think that's a good approach. Really get some reps in consecutive, contiguous reps of playing the same role, right? Like you said, be the pocket healer, but don't just do it once and then switch to brewmaster. Like be a pocket healer 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 raids in a row with your squad to where you know how that role works. Then switch your build, switch your gear appropriately, and then go play, like go solo, go play brewmaster, whatever you want to do, and do that 8 or 9 times in a row. So you at least get those reps in. No, I think that's a great piece of advice for sure. I did want to ask you about some of the cleric perks. Did you, in some of the end game type content that you guys were engaging in, did you end up taking? I'm guessing you had 2 spell skills going at times. Did you take resurrect?
so I only ran res when my group would complain enough. Typically I would tell them like just don't die.
Yeah.
um
When you did,
but
did you grab requiem when you did?
so typically no.
Mm.
The only reason I wouldn't grab requiem is due to there's a lot better perks out there. When I'm reviving somebody, I normally have the time to take a campfire. I normally have enough heals to heal them up.
Yeah.
And the biggest time someone dies is right after the boss. That's the most times. If we lose one person and it's a team fight, they're very lower. There's a lot lower chances of us surviving.
Right.
But in the bossing, we'll lose one person and it doesn't matter too much.
Right. 'Cause-
So sometimes people who we're running with, they'll want me to run res. Then I'll run res. But I'd much prefer holy purification, which some bosses you actually need holy purification. So for fighting lich, if you don't have that, you're gonna have a bad time.
yeah.
So I
And
like
for
holy
the
purification for killing rooms.
yeah, oh yeah, for the people playing at home, holy purification is the nuke, correct? That's the 100 damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the 100 damage nuke. And Requiem, which I just mentioned, is the perk that allows you, when you use the resurrection spell, it allows you to res your teammate with what, 50% plus of their health, maybe even more than that. Because usually when you res someone
I think it reses them at full,
full,
but
okay,
it doesn't take any of your health either.
okay, yeah, that's the
So
other thing.
Requiem doesn't just apply to your res; it applies to altar reses also.
That's pretty cool.
So if you carry them over to the altar and res them there, they'll res faster. You shouldn't be, as the healer, if your team's telling you to res at the altar and you're the one who has to do it, you should yell at them
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
you have
use
the
a rogue,
slowest
which
interact speed.
yeah, the speed
And
is
yeah.
it's that's a change they need to make. It's like, as a cleric, you should be the fastest person at rezzing at an altar, but
So
somehow
I
it's a
think
rogue.
I don't think they actually have the magical interaction speed tested as well
Yeah.
as they wanted to.
Yep.
And because that's supposed to be interacting with shrines, interacting
Yep.
with they have like res, health, all that stuff. And I think that they haven't focused on it because it's not the biggest deal. But I don't think that it's currently in the place. But I think what you're saying, we should have really fast magical interaction speed.
Yeah.
I get it. We might not know how to open a door, but like the interaction speed on a shrine when we're supposed to be in touch with this type of stuff is
Right.
what should be faster.
Right. 100%. Yeah, especially the altars, especially if it's involved in doing the thing that clerics do, like, exclusively. No one else has a
Yeah.
res spell. So
But yeah,
yeah.
for perks, I almost always ran the one that basically made it so every heal had an extra 5 on like extra healing, so your heals were all
Right.
stronger.
Advanced healer, I think. Yep.
Yeah, and then I used the one, I think it's like called kindness.
Yep.
It's
Kindness.
the one that heals you when you're healing other
Yep.
people.
That's a
So
must-have. Yep.
And those stack.
Yep.
So you get even higher returns on that. Then I would run Perseverance, I think it's called,
Yep.
which reduces all incoming damage by 3.
Yep.
A lot of people would avoid that because it sounds really bad, but the trick is you avoid mosquito damage.
That's right. The ticks from the poison, right?
All the poison barely hurts you anymore.
Yep.
Same with like little spiders. You get to avoid all that.
Right.
It's fantastic for that type of stuff.
No doubt.
Then the last one I changed out with like blunt weapon mastery and killing undead, depending on what we were doing.
Right. Yeah. That's a good call. So what do you think cleric needs next? What do they need from well, I'll ask this question. Do you feel like cleric really truly needs anything at this point to continue to be fun and viable? Or could they be
I think they need to spend more time on the other classes a little more. As I was saying, cleric's the most versatile by a long shot.
Yeah.
Maybe the only one that could come close would be wizard, and the only people who can play some of the top wizard builds are like 3 or 4 people. Just from what we've seen of like you had the buff ball where you're pushing in with just buffing everybody, speed, dagger, invisibility. You instantly knife someone, you're better than a rogue. Then you have like the using zap and doing the similar thing of speeding in, but it all kind of relies around like pushing in, being weak, and it doesn't really change too much other than the dagger build. But I feel like there's not too much uniqueness there. And same with kind of I mean, barbarian, you just kind of have to run at them with an
Yeah.
axe
Oh, yeah.
and kill them.
Right.
Or ranger, everybody was running the same builds with like what arrows they're shooting. They're running that shotgun build and then the triple
Yep.
shots. Rogues, they all pretty much they either ran 2 builds. It was like either a stealthy build or rupture poison.
Yep.
And then they had the jumping around, which was kind of annoying. Very annoying.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's just so much more diverse than every other class that I think they should put some time into making the other classes
I agree. It
have
pains
those
me to say it,
options.
but I completely agree. Yeah, I was pretty critical after playtest 3 that Cleric felt really underpowered. And then in PT4, they made some improvements. And then by the end of last playtest, it was like, okay, we're in a good spot. Like once they fixed Locust Swarm, and I barely touched Earthquake. Like, did you enjoy that? Do you feel like that was a good addition?
My role is normally just a healing role.
Yeah.
Like I play a healer and then I get greedy. Once it gets to hour 16 of a stream, I start to get really aggressive at other players. And so I'll just kind of run at people like in the middle of a fight and be like, I'm going for the kill, back off, you're not getting healed. Or I'll just steal or lay up these kills. So I didn't really use Earthquake. We didn't really ever see a need. We're normally the aggressor and not really holding a spot from people.
Right.
The best part about Earthquake is if someone's pushing you, you can hold them in a spot
Yeah.
and deal a little bit of damage to them while your ranged kills them, but we never really ran with ranged.
Yeah.
So it just didn't make sense to me.
I'm with you. No, I think one maybe minor ask that I would have is just that they expand the amount of viable weapons for a cleric. And we don't need edged right away, although I think it'd be cool if when they add the progression, the skill progression tree, that if there was a way to spec into at least one, maybe you get to pick one edged weapon that your cleric can use. Like that would be kind of a cool thing. Everyone would choose longsword, but that's besides the point. Yeah,
I think even adding new and weapons like that, because I do like the mace style, maybe adding another type of mace.
Yeah,
But
sure.
I think if they do a little bit of love to, I think one of your chatters said something about it, Connor, about the two-handed staff.
Yeah.
That's actually, if you watched any of my old content from playtest 3 or playtest 4, I would never use any weapon other than the magic staff. I didn't. So like playtest 3 with all those scores and whatnot, I didn't have a book with me. I would never use the
What?
book. I would actually drop my mace and my shield at the beginning, and I'd run around with only the staff because it looks hilarious when you hit people over the head with the
Oh,
staff.
the bonk. Yeah,
And
the bonk is hilarious, but man, it doesn't hurt enough. You must be really good with it.
well, so that was when Smite was good. Then there was
Oh,
also like
yeah. That makes sense.
tossing on a bunch of other perks, and I would take like we'd get, because you go onto the market to buy it, and there's magic staffs that people are selling with like +5 physical damage, +4 true physical damage, +6 or like +5 strength,
Nice.
50 gold, because they're like, no one wants this. So I'd buy these, and then each hit you're hitting for you. I was getting my magic staff to be able to hit for 150 per swing in playtest 3. So
Holy
I could walk around and I would be just literally 2-tap people.
Oh my.
Because it was crazy.
Jeez.
And I loved that, but then it's like now the cast speed is so much longer.
Yeah.
Than you don't get the bonus in magic damage. You move slower.
Yeah.
So it's just been, it kind of needs some love. And I think if they made that a little bit better and made it into a viable, not like fully viable melee weapon, but more of you can use it.
Right.
I think that would be good.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, chat, we're coming up on we're just over an hour 15 minutes. Any questions from the gallery here? For Mr. James, aka Xanzibars. You want to know anything about Cleric, this is the man to ask right here. Hey, John. Bonk bonk. Indeed. Did I miss any other? No, I think you caught the one that I missed from Connor, so that's a good call out. Oh, I missed Kissed, yeah. So Depressed, Lindstrom, and Nevix, yeah, they killed me and my son both in High Roller once.
Yeah, those guys really good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of it. The only thing I would say is like for solo play, I love Cleric. It's one of the best. It's so much fun with all that versatility. You can play it in such a funny ways or actually competitive ways.
Yeah.
One of the guys I talk with in my chats, he's always in like the top 5 for kills for Cleric.
Is it Hippo
But
Raid?
no, it's I mean he's always really good, but it's this other guy. He didn't play in PT5, but it's like Bad Kasai or something.
Okay.
But he goes in and just murders people. He'll go in solo and clear out entire lobbies in 3-mans. Like he'll go into the 3-mans and he has like the cap on damage reduction gear, which doesn't count towards the perseverance, and then like the other one that reduces damage taken. So he sits there and he can just be like getting a fighter and another person just beating on him and he takes no damage.
Holy cow.
Um,
What is he
yeah, because there's
wearing? Was he wearing like all the ruby silver stuff?
yeah, he were wearing like ruby silver, and then he'd also just buy rolls. Like it would, all the gear would have rolls of like damage reduction or extra armor on them. And yeah, so that's what he was doing. He had the shield, and then there was also the cleric ability that you could use that for 15 seconds you got 50% damage reduction. So you pop that, he would pop that, he would judgment them, and
It's
then
over.
holy strike on the thing and go beep, you're dead. And he'd have like 3 people just whacking on him, taking no damage with a support cleric sometimes. But yeah, he's really good, and it's just there's so many ways to play it. I would say definitely try it out if people are interested.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I slept on Holy Strike a little bit. I didn't really use it too much until the last day or two of PT5, and it's a decent ad. Did you typically run that?
So no, I kind of do a weird thing, because with 2 clerics, you can, at least you have been able to insert in playtests, you can kind of do a, not a bug, but I'm able to cast my bless on you,
Yep.
and if you're a cleric and you have bless, your bless ability is now stronger.
Right. So then you
And so
cast Bless. Yep.
you could cast bless on me, and then
It's
I
a
can
stronger.
cast it on Orlanthe,
And he's mega
and
blessed. Yeah.
he's getting 7. He's getting like 6 or 7
Yep.
and all attributes.
Damn.
So that's kind of cracked.
Yeah, dude.
And also when you're standing at one of those gold piles,
Yeah.
if you cast that on yourself, you get to actually interact
Yeah,
faster.
right, yeah.
So I like that a lot. And then if we're doing bossing, I don't have the space for a lot of abilities,
Right,
because you have to run cleanse.
right.
So
So you got lesser healing, holy
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 light,
light, yep. And then you've got bless,
protection.
protection, and cleanse. You got your 5 right there. And
Yeah, and then I mean, depending on, sometimes people would, depending on what we were doing, if we weren't going bossing, I would drop cleanse and pick up either, I believe either holy strike. So sometimes I would carry it, or then sometimes I would have revive,
yeah.
or I'd have locust swarm when that was around.
Right,
But
right on. So John did have a question from the gallery. Have you been to Xanzibars?
so I have been to the island Zanzibar. I went when
Zanzibar.
I was, I think 19. But I went to like a small island off of there and was scuba diving.
Nice.
Yeah.
How was it? Scuba fun?
Yeah, it was. I mean,
Is it
that
frightening?
it's such a gorgeous area there, and it's not deep, so it's really easy diving.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of diving that's like very scary, or definitely more scary than this. But this is more of just like you go in, kind of swim at your own pace. You're not really worried. Other diving I've done, you're holding onto a rope. You let go of that rope, you're going to be 2 miles away based on the current, and they're most likely not going to find you. So if I have to choose one, I kind of prefer that chill, relax. Like, let
Right.
me sit here for 5 minutes,
Yeah,
look
I'm
at the
with you.
little shrimpy guy.
Yeah,
But yeah.
I'm with you on that for sure. Well, man, I think we should wrap it here. How high are you? John, I think I want to ask you the same question. I think we're both respectable, sober adults here in this arena.
I have to teach high schoolers tomorrow, unfortunately. So not can't be partying too much.
That's right. Yeah, tonight is not the night for that, for me at least. But hey, man, I really appreciate you coming on the program. Guys in the chat and anybody watching on YouTube later, be sure to check out James at his Twitch channel, which is Xanzibars TV. Is that correct?
I think it's just Xanzibars, but
what? Did I assume that because you put it in your name sometimes?
Yeah, my
did.
name's always Xanzibars TV, but it's just Xanzibars.
Okay. Well, I'll drop a link in the chat for the
if Dark and Darker's a lot around, then you will see me there. But otherwise, I very rarely stream.
Gotcha.
But
and your content from Dark and Darker and any other game that gets thrown onto YouTube is usually going to Kiss channel, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kiss YouTube channel's got all of that there.
Got it. I will link to both of those in the description on the upcoming YouTube video. But again,
awesome.
What's that?
Oh, I was gonna say, awesome. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great conversation. Hopefully we get to do it again in the future, sooner rather than later. And when that later happens, we'll have a game to talk about that is live.
I'm hoping. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I don't want to join on any of these cults that we've got going on with like.
You can join my cult of the 21st, man. I'm all in on the cult of the 21st. And if that doesn't work, then I'm changing to Soma's cult, which is the cult of the 27th. And then if that doesn't work, I think Jay is he's gonna announce, I'm confident that Jay is gonna announce his own cult for August something. I just don't know what the date is gonna be yet. So we got a lot of cult options.
a lot of cults to choose from.
That's right.
Perfect.
Yeah, we like choice around here. Well, thanks again, man. Thanks you guys in the chat for sticking around. Have a good one. Hold the line. We'll see ya.